Welcome to Music Matters Podcast with Daryl Craig Harris, talking about all things music with celebrities, artists, music business insiders, and more.
Hey, thanks for joining us, ladies and gentlemen. Today I have Gideon King from Gideon King and City Blog. He's got a new single out, and he has a new EP coming out. New York City guitar player. Great collaborative effort on this project. How you doing, Gideon?
It couldn't be better. How you doing?
Good. So we had our technical issues trying to get set up, and we got it done. And I'm in Helsinki. You're in New York, so I've got an ocean away apart from us, but it's all good. So tell me about your project. It's been going for a while. It's a great collaborative effort with a lot of great New York City musicians, singers. And tell me how that came about.
Yeah, so the project is called Splinters. It's a 6-tune EP with one cover on it, actually, which we literally just released the other day. We've released, I guess we've released 3 songs so far. We've released Splinters, the title cut, a tune called Turn Off the Sky, and just the other day we released Somewhere Only We Know, which is, believe it or not, a cover of the old Keen song, which is a great song. And so, you know, I suppose everybody says this when they release their new music, and they say, well, you know, this is the best we've ever done, and this is the best thing we've ever created. And I guess I'm going to be pretty unoriginal and say that I think this is the best we've ever done, and say, like, you know, it's a reflection of a lot of different musical sort of examples of DNA. It's a reflection of the eclectic DNA of the band: jazz musicians, soul musicians, R&B musicians, rock musicians, fusion people like me. And so we couldn't be more excited. It has some pop, it's got some rock, it has some jazz, but I don't know what I would call it. Sort of a fusion progressive pop album. To be honest, my favorite band of all time is Steely Dan. So
right.
To the extent that I had to analogize it to something and be really self-serving while doing it, that's what I would do. I'd say it's a little bit of a Steely Dan influence, but we're super excited about it.
Yeah, I've checked out some of the cuts, and sounds awesome. And how did you originally come up with the idea of using different players and that kind of collaborative thing?
So, you know, what the thing with me is when I was younger, I was really sort of caught in the cross currents of so many different types of music. My sisters were hippies, and my parents liked classical music, and my brother was kind of, to be honest, like a prodigy jazz musician, you know, and became quite well known as a jazz piano player. So I was sort of stuck at the nexus of all of these different musical styles. And so I discovered at a young age some Wayne Shorter fusion and Steely Dan and all these bands that sort of told me it was okay to write music that had all of these different influences.
Right.
And that sort of that led me to construct my early bands like Steely Dan, where I would write the music and the lyrics, and it's a diverse array of musicians to help me execute it, including people like John Scofield and Mark Broussard and all kinds of people. And then
right.
as time went on, and frankly, just the logistical convenience of playing with roughly the same group of people most of the time became more and more obvious. The band gelled into just a smaller group, although we will still have outside people come and be part of it. And so it's an 8-piece band now. And, you know, we sort of get in the studio and create together. I write most of the music, but frankly, not all of it. Our keyboards guy writes quite a bit of the sometimes writes the chord changes and so on.
Yeah, you got some great players and great singers too, and it's you can hear the diversity in the group, which I think is awesome. And then, I mean, being in New York City, that's such an amazing place to put something like that together, right? Because there's so many great musicians.
You know what it's like? It's like playing pickup basketball. It's like if you go to Detroit, if you go to LA, you go to New York, and you go to Chicago, you can find some good games. Mm-hmm. And And the same goes for creating music in New York. You just know there's some great musical athletes around. And so if you can write something halfway decent, you can usually find some really special people to help you execute it. And I do believe, I guess at the risk of being like, shamelessly plugging the band, I really think we have one of the best bands around New York City. I truly believe that. We have amazing players. And so to write music and have them put it into action, it's pretty cool, man.
Yeah, it's exciting, and you get kind of giving birth to this baby that you guys have all created. Who are some of the players in the band and some of the vocalists that you work with? With
Alita Moses, who's touring with Jacob Collier. We've worked with Mark Bouchard, who's a well-known guy. Ashley Hess is amazing. Sonny Stepp is an amazing singer. Caleb Hawley, who has quite a following. We work with Michael Mayo as a vocalist who toured with Herbie Hancock.
Yeah, amazing.
And he's just a vocal beast, for God's sakes. Our drummer has played with everybody from Aretha Franklin to I don't even know. He's played with so many people. And our other drummer, percussionist drummer, they sort of switch up. He's one of the hotter young jazz drummers in New York City, Christian McGee. Jeff Hanley has played with everyone, I think, from Sting to whatever. So these are really
it's amazing. Yeah.
Great musicians. And the thing is, too, that sorry, I don't know if you lost me for a second there. I think the thing is that they're really nice people.
Yeah, that makes such a difference, right? You can get so much done with guys that are like team players. That's so important as a musician.
They're great. And the thing is I said to, on another radio show recently, like the thing that's like really cool is, there's a lot of great musicians. And it's like anything, there's a lot of great soccer players and there's a lot of great carpenters who can work on a team building a house. But if you can find people that can take criticism and give criticism and do it with a smile on their face and laugh at themselves and laugh at you. And if they can come up to me and say, Gideon, that part of the song that you wrote is kind of a piece of shit. Maybe we should fix it. And, if you can get that environment going where it's just a song, right? Like we're just writing a song. We're not solving the dispute between the Russians and the Ukrainians. Like it's not as important as that. So it's not life or death. So if you can find people that can somehow figure out a way to get to that level of maturity where the ego can be secondary in the process of creating things, man, that's a gold mine. I would take someone who's a good musician who can do that over someone who's a great musician who can't do that.
Yeah, you know what? I found the same thing. I'll take the team player. I don't need the virtuoso who can't, cooperate and share, and that's so important. What's your advice for young songwriters and musicians? Like, what's some of the most important lessons that you've learned, especially living in New York City?
Oh, I mean, listen, I would say, to get it done, meaning, if you call yourself a songwriter, you need to have a lot of songs, and you need to write, produce, and publish a lot of songs. You can't constantly be saying, I'm working on an EP. You can't be working on an EP for 7,000 years. At some point you gotta let it fly, and you gotta put it out there. And so get it done. Whatever it takes, get some songs out there. You don't what people, what I've written songs where I think this is awesome. People are gonna love this. It's gonna get on Spotify playlist. And nobody gives a damn about the song, and it gets 4,000 streams, and nobody cares. And then I've written other songs where I'm like, I love this one, but I don't think anybody's going to love it, and that's the one that gets Spotify playlist. So get it done.
Right.
Two, be open to real criticism about your live performance and your studio work. When you put shows together. Sometimes you have friends come and they say, "You're awesome." And then they write on Instagram, "You're awesome, and I want to be you," or whatever, some expression. But the truth is like, I have a few people that come to my shows that are friends, and they're like, "Well, what did you think?" And I'm like, "Well, I like this and that, and this was cool." And they're like, "Well, here's what wasn't good, and I can tell you." And so you've got to be willing to take the pain of hearing the truth about what you're doing. And it's really hard, man. To be honest with you, it's really painful. So one, get music. Two, be open to criticism. And three, try and not let social media suck out of you your creative energy. The truth is, you can go to the studio and you can make a video of yourself playing 12 seconds of guitar or singing, whatever. And that can take up 2.5 hours.
Right.
Still editing it and so on and so forth. And it's like, but at the end of the day, we need to create a catalog of music that the think world wants, that people want to listen to. And no matter how cool you look or what you are, you got to get that done. And social media has a way of taking all that energy from you and kind of dispersing your energy around like an unmade bed, so that you never really create expressions that are full and complete. And so, man, I play the social media game. I guess I post. I have an Instagram.
We kind of have to, right?
I do it. I hate it, but I do it. But man, don't let it own you, and don't let it own your time and your creative energy. By the way, that's not easy. The other day I made a little like guitar thing, and like, man, before I knew it was like 30 seconds of bullshit where I was just playing some blues guitar. And man, before I knew it, I looked at my watch. I was like, wait, like 2 hours have passed by, and it's just, so those are sort of some rough pieces of advice. I don't know if they're worth it.
No. That's, you know what? That's good advice. And what's your thought, independent artists versus trying to be on a label? Like, what do you think where is that at these days, do you think?
There's this tendency to demonize labels. People say, well, if you sign with a label, they own you and they give you money and then they forget about you, or they only care about your social media numbers. And if your first 2 tunes are not a hit, they drop you like a bad habit. All true. But that's life. Life is hard. And so there's elements of distribution and elements of of creating connective threads to important parts of the music world that labels can really be a big part of. I am an independent artist. I have not sought out representation from a label vigorously. What I would say is, if you get a good label deal, it's cool to give it a shot. Make sure that there are really good sunset provisions. Make sure that you're not married to this thing right to your grave.
Where they own you, right? Where they do actually own you.
Yeah. So the label advances you $41,000 or $58,000 or $104,000 or has some creative control. Like those are things you're going to have to deal with, but make sure it's not a forever deal. And make sure that the tail on it, let me sort of say it more in the practical real world. Make sure the tail on it is not too long. And because anybody can live with something for a period of time. You can live with it psychically, knowing it'll be over in some reasonable period of time if you hate it. But if it's forever and you hate it, that's a real problem.
Yeah, that's a burden for sure. And that's and that's true. And then also now we have so many great ways of self-promoting through the different outlets, social media, and they have Spotify. The Spotify thing is still controversial, of course, because we're not getting paid. That's a challenge, but hopefully we can find a path out of that.
That's a complex discussion.
Yeah, it is for sure. So when's the actual release date for the EP?
Well, it's funny, release date. I mean, like, we're just releasing each song every few months. I don't know. I guess there's a technical release date of mid-September, but we just released a song. We're going to release another one in a month and a half, and then we'll release. I don't know. It's called Splinters. It's on Spotify. So, man, I hope people like it.
Yeah. And I think that seems to be a world of singles these days, right? That's kind of more important.
Yeah, it's kind of sad, gone are the days of like the full expression of a full album like Californication or like Joshua Tree. It's like the whole idea of putting out an entire album with a thematic
cohesive, right?
It seems to be gone, and so if it's gone, I don't want to try and raise the dead.
Yeah, Yeah, and I mean, sometimes it's better if you have quality songs, it's better to have the focus on the song, right?
I mean, listen, to some extent, man, it's just math. It's like if you release one song at a time, each specific song is like a shot on goal to get playlists. Whereas if I dump a whole bunch of songs in your lap and your first impression is not that positive, you might just dismiss the whole thing,
That's true. Yeah, and then you kind of burn a bunch of songs, and then it's hard to go back and fix that, right?
So hard. So like, I think that the paradigm of releasing singles one by one has become the paradigm because of that to some extent.
Yeah, and I agree with you. Tell people how they can find you on social, and if you guys have a website.
Yeah, we have a website, Gideon King and City Blog. If you go to Spotify, there's Gideon King City Blog. Sorry, no. If you go to Instagram, there's Gideon King City Blog. And, I'm there with my 8,000 or 9,000 likes and not as many likes. Not as many likes as Ed Sheeran and Taylor Swift. I can assure you of that.
Yeah, well, there aren't too many people that have as many as they do. Hey, you know what? God bless them if they can go out and make it happen. Good for them, right?
Taylor Swift is she's like a country now. She's not even a person. She's like one person economy.
Exactly. That's amazing. Well, hey man, thank you so much for joining me. We made this work. Like I said, we're across an ocean, but we get it done. And I'm looking forward to hearing more of your songs. I liked what I checked out, and you're working with a really good team, a good marketing and promo team. It's a good friend of mine, and he's doing good work for you. So thanks so much for taking the time. I really very much appreciate it.
Oh, I appreciate your interest, and thanks for listening to the music. And I guess good luck, man.
Yeah, thank you. So everybody, please check out Gideon King and City Blog. Check them out on social. Check out Spotify. And the tunes are great, and I think you'll really dig it. Thank you so much, Gideon.
Take it easy.
Awesome. Peace. Have a good day. Bye.
Thanks for joining us, and please consider subscribing to our podcast and follow us on our social media pages for guest announcements.